I've got a 2011 BMW X5 here. It is the 35i, so it's got the N55 turbo engine, and I've got code 2C56, that's 2 Charlie 56, charging pressure control, plausibility, pressure too high. I'm going to show you how I fixed it. Alright, so before we get into the repair, I want to show you the components of the BMW turbo system and explain how it works. First, the most common way to set up a wastegate is to have it normally closed. And when the boost gets to a certain point, the wastegate will open by the pressure in the intake/charge pipe. This kind of acts like a relief valve. BMW, however, keeps the wastegate normally open and only actuates/closes it when the boost is requested. So, since I did get boost, too much boost in fact, the system is definitely pulling the wastegate closed. Here's how it works. A vacuum source is required, so a vacuum line runs from the valve cover to the electronic boost control valve. You can see the green line here in this drawing. When the ECM, DME, engine computer, whatever you want to call it, demands more or less boost, it sends a signal to the boost control valve to apply more or less vacuum. See the orange line in this drawing. More vacuum equals wastegate more closed, less vacuum equals wastegate more open. When I went to troubleshoot the overboost issue I was having with code 2C56, charging pressure control pressure too high, I started by manually reaching down and moving the wastegate. You can see the purple circle in this picture. Thus, I knew the wastegate wasn't mechanically seized, so the trouble had to be somewhere else in the system. Now, I know not everybody has BMW ISTA and INPA software, but I did run the ISTA test plan for the overboost code I was getting. With the engine running, this test tells the wastegate to cycle open and close several times within 30 seconds. During this test, I couldn't see much wastegate movement. When I shut off the engine, thus killing the vacuum source, the wastegate would spring back to its normally open position. This basically means that the vacuum lines were good and could carry vacuum. This also means the pneumatic wastegate actuator is good. Therefore, I decided the only component left that might be causing a problem, besides the engine computer, was the boost control solenoid. Yes, there's also charge, pressure, and manifold air pressure sensors that could be giving a false reading, but I wasn't getting any codes in addition to the 2C56 charging pressure control pressure too high. So the rest of this video is steps to replace the boost control valve. Let's move on. Okay, first thing you do is remove the acoustic cover up here. Grab underneath here, pull up, get it out, get this out of the way. Alright, then we got to start just pulling some lines. There is a vacuum line here. You pinch here, pull off. There's two tabs. You'll feel it. You can push those off, or push and then pull that off. Now let's get this part of the tube off here. Looks like we got a 7mm hose clamp here and probably like a 6 here. I'll get back with you. Okay, I don't know if this is 6. It's 1/4 inch drive is what I'm using for this one back here. I'm going to use a 7mm for this one right here. Alright, there's a 10mm bolt right here. Let me take this off the stand and show you closer. There's a 10mm bolt right here. I'm going to pull that out. Also right down here there will be a vacuum line and a keeper right here. You'll want to get that out. Okay, that 10mm bolt is out. Now let's get this guy out. Looks like we got T25 Torx, one on each side, and electrical connection. I'm going to get a little pick, lift up on this tab, and pull this connection out. And once I pull these two bolts out, you got to be careful. This thing is going to be brittle. It's probably going to break on you. You might as well go ahead if you're replacing this turbine control solenoid that I am. Go and order a new one of these as well. This is probably going to break on you. Alright, the connection is off. The two T25 bolts are out. I'm going to leave it in just for now. I'm going to wait until I start getting this thing back a little bit to take the tension off this to get it out the rest of the way. Down here there is another 1/4 inch drive hose clamp. Let's take that off. Okay, that hose clamp right down there is now loose. So you could probably get this pipe off with this sitting in there as it is, but I'm going to take this intermediate pipe off both from there and kind of set it up out of the way. Just gives myself some more room. So I'm going to separate that connection and that connection right there. Okay, that intake pipe is up and out of the way. I did end up just leaving it connected to the hard plastic pipe. There's just a rubber grommet back here. Lift up on that. Actually, first take the air box and kind of just pull it. There's rubber grommets for it as well as kind of pull it back towards the driver's side. You can see it's kind of cocked up just a little bit. And then pop this piece up, and then you can work this piece out of the bottom connection down here. Now, as you're doing that, work this piece out. Let me show you. Mine had already broke. Looks like it had been taped at one time. So yeah, I've got a new one of these. I will link the part down in the condition description below. So anyway, if you want to try to not break this, as you pull that pipe out, kind of turning it, pull this up at the same time, and hopefully you won't break it. Then after that, there's clips along the side of it here, like underneath and on the side and on the top. You got to kind of work those clips off as you pull this off of the valve cover right here. Okay, let's look at what we came to see. Okay, follow along the valve cover here towards the back, and you are going to see an electrical connection right here. This is the solenoid we're after that's plugged in. There's a tab here. See if I can do this one-handed. Push that metal tab in and lift up on the connection, kind of move it out of the way. Then there's going to be some vacuum lines, but we aren't going to pull those off yet. One of the vacuum lines going to it is right here. That's the source. And then there's another vacuum line right here that is going down to the vacuum actuator for the wastegate. This piece is bolted in with a 10mm nut up here and one that you can't see on bottom. You can see the stud right there, but we got to get that 10mm nut and the bottom 10mm nut off. I'm going to do that, bring this piece out and set it up here so you can see it. Okay, I'm zoomed in way on the piece here. This is it. You can see the 2 bolt connections, ears on each side of this thing, and then 2 vacuum lines. One really short one right here that goes to the valve cover back here. That's the source. And this valve will open and close as needed to send that vacuum down to the vacuum actuator. So let's go ahead and get those 2 vacuum lines off of this piece. Okay, here it is. I have the piece off and in my hand. Sometimes you might have a problem getting these vacuum lines off. The source line right here was pretty easy, just a little bit of a twist and away it comes. This one going down to the vacuum actuator was on there quite tight, and the trick that I do to get these vacuum lines off is just take a small pair of pliers, carefully get in here, grab onto it, just move it around. You just got to break it loose, and after you've wiggled it around a few times and it's broken loose, then you should be able to pull it right off. Alright, let's get the new part. Okay, here is the new part. Pureberg is what I purchased. This is a quality brand. This is a lot of vacuum and air pneumatic related components for European cars. Yeah, that is the part number for it. I'm also going to put on the screen here, maybe I'll just put it right up here. This is the BMW part number. Alright, let's go ahead and put this back on. I'm going to do the vacuum lines first and then set it in there and bolt it back against the valve cover. Okay, the new one is on. Make sure you get the vacuum lines right. Put them back on exactly how they came off. The electrical connection is back on. It's bolted back on with the 10mm nuts there. Now it's time to get the air intake pipe back in. Okay, I'm going to pause putting this intake pipe on so I can hopefully attempt to show you this in real time. This intake pipe here, I just have it on the connection down here. Okay, it is not on the air box, so I can still move this thing around a lot. There's kind of a trick to doing this piece here, this vent hose. So I've got it in, but I don't have the bolt holes lined up yet because I want to be able to turn it around. So And also you can heat this tube up with a hairdryer or something, just make it really pliable. But once you get it in there, kind of work this on as you're working the pipe back on into place, and it really saves you some headache. Brand new O-rings are pretty stiff. 1 second. Okay, now that that is in there, we had seated it in the tube first, but had turned it just a little bit. And then as you push this pipe down, push this in and turn this. It's kind of a circus act, but it's the best way to get it in and out without breaking it. Okay, like most things, assembly is the reverse of disassembly. Tighten your hose clamp down here, plug your vent sensor back in here, 10mm bolt there, put the vacuum line back on here, and then cinch your hose clamps back down there after you press this air box back in. Last thing I got to do is just put the beauty cover and its 2 tabs there, and then push it on its ball studs down here. All right, let's this is going to be hard to film, and you might not have ISTA, but I'm going to run the program to actuate the wastegate while it's just sitting here idling, and let's see how this thing moves. All right, I've got the engine idling here. This is going to be tough to see. I'm going to circle here for you real quick what you need to focus in on. This is the wastegate. Okay, engine's running, and then I'm starting the program here to actuate the wastegate back and forth, open and close, and you can see that the wastegate is moving open and closed, open and closed, back and forth. So this is the fix. Obviously the last step is to put the acoustic cover, engine beauty cover back on, and then clear the codes and take it for a drive. I'm happy to report that I did take it for a drive, put it at the RPM, somewhere around like holding it between 2,000 and 3,000 RPM with a little bit of load, like going uphill or something, would always set it off. That's because the wastegate was basically stuck closed. So that is how I fixed my BMW X5 turbo wastegate issue. Thanks for watching. Please like and please subscribe. Catch you next time.